Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Pranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Pranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu Kirtana Gita Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringara Tanama Niramarjanado Shri Vigrahara Joktasya bhaktamsa neyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Kridvaiva Tripti Bhajata Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Bhajata Shadeva Shiradikama Gavayara Para Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namnam Shiradikama Madhura Leela Punarupana Pratikchanasa Dhanalalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Ne kunjayuno Ratikeli Siddhai Rajali Bhirjokte Apekshaniya Nekunjayuno Ratikeli Siddhai Rajali Tatrati Dakshar Ativala Vasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Sakcha Dharidena Samasta Shashri Ruktastathava Vyataiva Sadhavi Sakya Dharidena Samasta Shashri Kintu Prabodja Priyaiva Tasya Bande Gurashi Charanarvrindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Bhagavat Prasadam Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Dayam Stubam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Dhyayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Nama O Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swami Nityam Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Gadadhara Shivasari Gora Bhaktavi Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Bo Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaye Madhavaya Kesavaye Namah Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Shri Radha Nila Madhav Radha Radha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama Jaya Sudarshan Chakra Baladeva Subhadra Jaya Sitaram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaur Haribo Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Bo Jai Vishwapara Paramansa Prabhaja Kachara Sitara Shiva Divine Grace Abhachara Vinda Bhakti Viranta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Pratishta Viviti Samstapakachara Vaishnav Siramani Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patitu Dhari Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhattara Gunata Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sadgoswami Prabhu Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Ananta Kuch Vaishnav Vrindi Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Se Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai Jai Param Dayal Se Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Prema Nama Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinandan Shman Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaura Hari Mahavrana Avatar Ki Jai Golokera Pramadhan Harinama Sankitan Jai Ki Jai Yogadharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Brihad Nitanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Radha Kund श्याम कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय, श्री ब्रज भूमि वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय, लॉर्डशिप श्री श्री राधा नीलमाधव की जय, श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप एक चक्र धाम की जय, परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय, श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु श्रीमती सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय, भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन करण सिंहरे भगवान की जय, जगंगा माई जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय, श्री मथुरा रानी की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौरी प्रमानंदे. All glory to the assembled bodies, all glory to the assembled bodies, all glory to the assembled bodies, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru, Shri Guru. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Pralada la da da Pralada la da da Hiranyakashipu Vaksha Hiranyakashipu Vaksha Silatangkana kalaye Jaya silatangkana kalaye Ito nishingo parato nishingo Ito nishingo parato nishingo Jato jato jamita to nishingo Bair nishingo Hrudaye nishingo Bair nishingo, Hrudaye nishingo Narashinga Madhya Sharanam Prapade Pavakara Kamala Vare Naka Arvata Shinga Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanabhinga Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadish Hare Bhavattaratnam Nata Adbhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakashipu Danabhinga Kesavadita Naradirupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Kesavadruta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Kesavadruta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Jaya Nisingade Jaya Nisingade Nisingade Jaya Nisingade Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari Narahari Jaya Narahari Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Prahlad Maharaj Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Nittai Gaura Haribo 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo Nittai Gaura Premanande Jai Shri Shri Bhakti Pada Sarvabhignashana Kari Singare Bhagavan ki Jai Jai Bhakta Shrestha Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai Nittai Gaura Hari Premanande Hari Hari Bo Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha. Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo. Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha. Tulasi Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Nasi. Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Vilasi. Chitamara Sharanala Tarabancha Puna. Chitamara Kripa Kari Kara Tara Vrindavana Vasi. Tumi kripa kari kara tare Vrindavana Vasi. Morai Abhilas Vilas Kunje Diyoba. Morai Nayane Vivo Sada Jugala Rupavasi. Vedana dhara sakhirano gata kora. Sevayadhi kara diye kara nijadasi. Sevayadhi kara diye kara nijadasi. Krishna Das koi hey enamorado. Shri Radha Govinda Premi Sadai Navasi. Shri Radha Govinda Premi Sadai Navasi. Jani Kanisha Papani Brahma Hatari Kanisha Tane Tane Pranashanti Pradakshina Pare Pare. Yani Kanisha Papani Brahma Hatari Kanisha Tani tani prana shanti pradakshina pade pade. Yani kani shapapani brahmatari kani sa. Tani tani prana shanti pradakshina pade pade. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Vrinda Devi. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo. Srimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavataye Namo Namaha. Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai. Oh Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower, carry damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in love with Shri Radha and Govinda. Shri Mate Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Ki Jai. Chaito Darpana Marjana Bhavamada Vagni Vapana Shri Akari Vachandika Vitaranam Vidya Vadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Padipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Jayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Baudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Arpita Niyamita Shmaranena Kala Etadrushi Tava Kripaya Bhavan Mamati Durdhaivam Idrishamiyajani Nanuraga Vinadapi Samichayana Tarurapi Saishnana Manina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Na Dhanam Na Janam Na Sundarim Kavitam Bhajagari Shakamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhavatar Bhakti Rahaitu Kitvai Ainandatanu Kinkaram Paditamam Visame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galora Shrudharaya Badanam Gadagadharudaya Gira Pulakairi Chitam Bapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavisati Juga Itam Nimishena Chakrusha Prabhusha Itam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me Asli Shavapadaраtam Pinashtumam Adarshanar Marmahatam Karotuva Jata Tathava Vidadatulam Pato Matpranatastu Saivana Para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Ki Jai Namo Mahavaranayo Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaura Tveshe Namaha. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life with repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prompt benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself a lord and stroll in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, somehow or other I am fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at the Lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on end with the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling vacant in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and
he
should
shall
remain
remain
so,
so,
even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything,
for he is my worshipful Lord, unconditionally.
unconditionally.
Shri Chaitanya Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Paskati Desatani.
There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows.
1.
To blaspheme,
To dedicate their lives to propagating the holy names of the Lord.
2.
To consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of names of Lord Vishnu.
3.
To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature pursuant to the Vedic version.
5.
To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination.
6.
To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord.
7.
To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruit of activities or karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
And 10.
To not have complete faith in the chant of holy names, and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava is carefully guarding his establishments in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa tarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvisesa Sanyavani Paskati Desatani. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganya Timirandasya Jnanam Jana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Jalaha Bhajakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Saidvaitam Sabadutam Parijanai Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishaka Nivitam Sa Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutali Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutali Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shivar Savanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gora Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambhude Padambhajayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitanandanamine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurichase Namaha Panchatatvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Sudator Pangur Mama Manda Matergati Matsarva Swapadam Bhujo Radha Madanun Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadumadaha Shrimad Ratnagira Shrimam Sanostito Shrimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prestali Bihi Sevyamanu Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasa Ranbi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venu Smanir Gopir Gopinatak Striyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Guru Pranama prayers Ki Jai, Shri Brahma Samiti Ki Jai, Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakarasat Masukalpa Vriksha Laksa Vrite Susurabira Vipaliantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dalayataksham Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shyamam Tribanga Lalitani Taprakasam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakilendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sudurlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsada Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Munipungamanam Sopyastiyat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tatve Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekop Yasora Chayatam Jagadanda Kotim Yas Chaktirasta Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajastataiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusaha Suktaryameva Nikama Pratitastuvanti Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Patibhavita Bhistabirya Eva Nijarupa Tayakalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilapna Bhuto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hirdayesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundarim Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amenatista Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumam Yo Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Kotisvasesu Vasadadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Asesa Bhutam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hiyasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Traigunya Tad Visayaveda Vitayamanam Sattva Volambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Matayamanasu Ya Praninam Patifilam Smaratam Upetya Lilaya Tena Bhuvanani Jayaya Jasram Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Talechatasya Devi Mahesa Haridama Sute 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 Te Prabhava Nichaya Vihitascha Yena Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shristista Te Pralaya Sadhava Saktireka Chaye Vayasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichanu Rupam Abhyasya Chichesta Tesa Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yatada Divikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritakasti Hetu Yasam Bhutama Pitata Samapaitikariat Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Departure Evahita Santaram Abhyapetya Dipayate Vita Hetu Samanu Karma Yastadra Deva Hicha Vishnu Taya Vibhati Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidrama Ananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupaha Adhara Shaktim Avalambya Param Swamurtim Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Niswasita Kalamatavalamya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanataha Vishnur Mahansa Yasya Kalavi Seso Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Vasmanya Tasma Sakaleshan Jesu Tejas Riyam Kiyat Prakatayata Pitadvatatra Pramaya Esa Jagadanda Vidanu Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dvande Pranama Samayesa Kanadi Raja Vignan Vihanta Malamatsi Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Marudisas Chakalas Tatakma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Visantiyancha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yas Chaksuresa Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Sesa Teja Yasyagaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayastapam Si Brahma Dikita Patagava Tehasta Jiva Yadata Matari Bhava Prakatapa Bhava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasindra Gopamatavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhana Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Bhakti Bhajam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Bitti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavai Sanchintya Tasya Sadvasintam Apurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpatarava Durmabu Mischintama Neganama Itoyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriyasa Kichirilandam Jyotiparam Apitada Swadyam Apicha Sayatra Shiradi Bhishavati Shirabhi Vyasta Sumahan Nimesar Dakyuva Rajati Nahiyatrapi Samaya Bhaje Swita Dvipam Tamaham Iagolakam Ityam Vidantas Te Santakshiti Virachara Katipa Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vikraha and Adiraja Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chi Brahma Samhita Ki Jai, Shri Guru Vastaka prayers to Ki Jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance to Lotus Feet, as such a spiritual master is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Chanting the holy name, dancing the ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears fall from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shisha, Radha, and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments and clean their temple and offer other similar worship. But in the world, I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and stuck. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal passion of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting gopis who at different times make different tastes for his perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavan. I offer my most humble obeisance unto the Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Street as such a spiritual master who is the bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. So, offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Street of my spiritual master, his divine grace. A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Part 1. Text number 18 again. Pureshu punya pavanadri Pureshu punya kamnasesu apakatoyesu saditsarasu Anantalingai Samalankrikesu Chachara Tirtha Yatane Visananya Pureshu. Holy places like Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Mathura. Punya, piety. Upovana, the air. Adri, hill. Kunjesu, in the orchards, Apanka, without sin, Toyesu, in the water, Sarit, river, Sarasu, lakes, Anantalingai, the forms of the unlimited, Samalankritesu, being so decorated, Chachara, executed, Tirtha, places of pilgrimage, Ayantanesu, holy lands, Ananya, alone or seeing Krishna alone. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He began to travel alone, thinking only of Krishna, through various holy places like Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Mathura. He traveled where the air, hill, orchard, river, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples. Thus he performed the pilgrim's progress. Well, there's one point here that's very important. Why does it say that he traveled where the air, hill, orchard, river, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples? Well, what makes a river pure, or orchard pure, a hill, air, or lake pure and sinless? It's the fact that pure devotees visit those places and they purify them. Just like when the Ganges River was being brought down to the earth from the heavenly planets after it entered from the causal ocean. Ganga had a doubt and said, well, so many people are going to come and bathe and they're going to dump all their sinful activities on me. How can I handle this? And she was told, yes, that's a fact, but great saintly souls will also visit your waters, and they will purify you. And she said, okay, then, therefore, I agree. So this is how rivers and lakes and hills and air become purified and sinless, because saintly people visit those places. And then thus he performed the Pilgrim's Progress. The Pilgrim's Progress is like I said yesterday, is a Christian phrase which means one learns by traveling. So when you go to different places, especially places of pilgrimage, you learn many things, because there are many highly evolved devotees in those places, and they reveal things to the pilgrims, and they educate the pilgrims. Just like you can do Vrindavan Parikram or Mayapur Parikram, and usually there are devotees that live there that'll take you to these different places and temples, and they explain the pastimes of the Lord in those different places, and the stories behind the deities. And it's very purifying to hear those pastimes. So in the purport it says, these archa forms of the Lord may be considered idols by the atheists, but that does not matter for persons like Vidura or his many other servants. Now, this is a normal, let's say, remarks made by atheistic people. And they say, why are you worshiping idols? And we know also that due to British education in India, even Hindus refer to deities as idols, and the literature as the Vedic literature as mythology. So words have meanings, and therefore the Christian preachers that came to India, they used these words to put the Vedas in a pejorative position to the Bible. That's a good word, pejorative. P-E-J-O-R-A-T-I-V. See what that means. They do it on purpose. They use words to give a stain or a negative remark. Yeah, what does it say?
Expressing contempt or disapproval.
There you go. Something to contempt. Contempt means that, they want to spit on it, and make it look like it's not worth one penny. So, therefore, when Hindus use the same words, that means that they've been contaminated by the British education. So they refer to their own scriptures as mythology, and they refer to the deities as idols. Now, is there a difference between a deity and an idol? Yes, a huge difference. Now, this brings up a very interesting point. And if we understand this point, we can see how dangerous Mayavad philosophy is. Now, there is, we discussed a little bit yesterday, but I'm going to go much deeper into this subject of Saguna and Nirguna worship. Saguna and Nirguna worship. Now, write these two words down if you have taking notes. Write these two words down, Saguna and Nirguna. Because now you're going to see how the Mayavadis confuse things to such a degree that people become bewildered. Even devotees can become bewildered by the Mayavad philosophy. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya says you should never listen to Mayavad philosophy. It's too dangerous because you risk never being able to understand Krishna consciousness after listening to the Mayavadis. Just like we heard one thing yesterday from, Ravi Shankar. And it's enough to confuse you, where he says that the soul is electricity. Now, someone asked a question yesterday after the class, and it was that, the soul is an energy of Krishna, so maybe what Ravi Shankar said is not wrong. But actually, it is very wrong. Now, is it true that the living entity is an energy of Krishna? It is true. But the way the Mayavadis, and Ravi Shankar is definitely a big-time Mayavadi, although he has his disciples chanting Krishna bhajans, right? And sometimes, but in a very cursory way, he might refer to Krishna, but usually he doesn't. But sometimes he may. Pataputri Sai Baba, he would chant Krishna bhajans. He would actually chant them himself, right? But he's a gigantic Mayavadi. Now we're going to hear the basis on which, and it all has to do with Saguna and Nirguna, these two words. Why these people are very dangerous. So, in the Vedic literature, so if you look it up on the internet and you go to some Hindu pages, you'll see that their understanding of Saguna is anyone who appears in the material world is contaminated with material qualities, including Krishna. And the supreme absolute truth is nirguna, doesn't have qualities like eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue, feet, hands, legs. It's completely impersonal. Right? This is their understanding of saguna and nirguna. Anyone who appears in the material world is contaminated with material qualities, a material body, and secondly, there are no individuals. Everything is impersonal. The perception of individuals is false. It's an illusion. And therefore, that's why they say Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, that only the Brahman effulgence is real, And the Jagat, everything you see in the material world, is false. So here we are. These are the three big points of the Mayavadis. There are more, but these are three big ticket items that they're trying to sell to the people. Now, when the Vaishnavas use the word saguna and nirguna, here's where there's a major difference between the Mayavadis and the Vaishnavas. When the Vaishnavas say saguna Brahman, it refers to the living entity. Because you and me and all living entities, 8,400,000 species, have material bodies covering the soul. It doesn't refer to Krishna, because you would say, well, wait a minute, then what about the deity? The deity has material, it's made of material elements. Therefore, and then we're worshiping the deity. No, the deity is different. Why? Because number one, the deity is made, and this is the most important point, according to the description in the Vedas. Like, for example, Krishna has a three-bending form, Tribhanga. He has a flute. He has a peacock feather on his head. His bodily hue is very, like, dark, bluish, blackish, but not black in the sense of an African or a Dravidian who has a very dark skin. But he has brilliant darkness, just like a rain cloud that's struck by lightning. So this differentiates him from everyone else. And then there's many other details about him and his body. He has so many different symbols on the bottom of his feet. He has a certain reddishness in different parts of his body, and so forth. There's like myriad, M-Y-R-I-A-D, look that word up, myriad qualities that differentiate him from anyone else. And this is all explained in depth in the Brahma Samhita and in other Vedic literatures. What does myriad mean?
Countless or extremely great number.
Yeah. So Krishna has countless number of defining qualities that differentiate him from ordinary jivas. Now, secondly, Krishna is invited, once the form of the Lord is made, according to the description in the Vedas, then he is invited to reside in that form that's similar to his transcendental body by the pran pratishtha ceremony. Now, from that point on, those material elements that make up the form of the deity are worshipped at least 6 times a day. At least 6 times a day. Now, you can go to the library in Bellevue and you'll see a statue of Gandhi. And once a year, they perform puja to that statue. Right? I've gone to those once a year things. The rest of the year, they ignore it. So that's the difference between a deity and an idol. The idol is not worshipped every day, 6 times a day. You offer food, you offer flowers, you offer arti, you bathe the deity, you dress the deity, you undress the deity, you put the deity to sleep, you wake the deity up. None of that they don't do any of that to the idols. They might do it maybe once a year, that's it, or twice a year, but it's not every day. So all these are indications that the deity is different than an idol. Number one, it's made according to the description. Now, when you have, like, for example, let's say you go to some festival and there's an artist there, and you pay him $15 and he draws your face on a piece of paper, right? Now, there might be like 5 artists there. Now you might go to each artist and ask him to paint to draw your face. Each one will draw something that looks like your face, but there'll be differences. They might make the nose a little longer or a little shorter, the eyes a little bigger or smaller, the eyebrows a little lower or upper, So each picture will look something like you, but there might be slight differences according to the artist. So in the same way, you can go and get, let's say, 500 pictures of Krishna made by 500 different artists. Now, all the divining features, will, like the flute, the peacock feather, the 3 bending form, the symbols on the bottom of his feet, the colors, reddish color of his palms and his lips, and all that will be in each one. But there might be slight differences according to the artists, right? But all those defining qualities will be in that picture. Otherwise, it's not accepted as a bona fide picture. And there is many more than what I just named, many more defining qualities of the Lord. So, there is a major difference between a deity and an idol. Now, there's further information. Sometimes the deity talks with its devotees, with the devotees. Now, we have the example of Sakshi Gopal, we have the example of Madhavendra Puri, and there are other examples too. But just to give a little bit of information about this, we're going to look this up. Yesterday we read the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 5th verse. That explained a lot about the difference between the worshiping the deity as opposed to worshiping an idol. Now, we're going to hear even more. In Madhya Lila, 5th chapter, 10th verse. Madhya Lila, 5th chapter, 10th verse. Let's see what it says. Madhya Lila 5. It begins the history of Sakshi Gopal. And it says, formerly at Vidyanagara in South India, there were 2 brahmanas who made a long tour to see different places of pilgrimage. First of all, they visited Gaya, then Kashi, then Prayaga. Finally, with great pleasure, they came to Mathura. After reaching Mathura, they started visiting the different forests of Vrindavana and came to Govardhana Hill. They visited all 12 forests, or vanas, and at last came to the town of Vrindavana. In the village of Panchakrosi Vrindavana, at the site where the Govinda temple is now situated, there was a great temple where gorgeous worship of Gopala was performed. After taking their baths at different bathing places along the river Yamuna, such as Kesigata and Kaliyagata, the pilgrims visited the temple of Gopala. Afterwards, they took rest in the temple. The beauty of the Gopala deity stole away their minds, and feeling great happiness, they remained there for 2 or 4 days. One of the 2 brahmanas was an old man, and the other was young. The young man was assisting the old one. Indeed, the young brahmana always rendered service to the older one, and the old man, being very satisfied with his service, was pleased with him. The older man told the younger, "You have rendered various types of service to me. You have assisted me in traveling to all these places of pilgrimage. Even my own son does not render such service. By your mercy, I did not become fatigued while on this tour. If I did not show you any respect, I would be ungrateful. Therefore, I promise to give you my daughter in charity." The younger brahmana responded, "My dear sir, please hear me. You are saying something very unusual. Such a thing never happens. You are a most aristocratic family man, well educated and very rich. I am not at all aristocratic, and I am without a decent education and have no wealth. And the purport says, due to pious activities, one can be enriched by 4 opulences. One may attain birth in an aristocratic family, become highly educated, become very beautiful, or get a sufficient quantity of riches. These are symptoms of pious activities performed in one's past life. In India, it is still current for an aristocratic family never to consider a marriage with a common family. Though the caste may be the same, to maintain the aristocracy, such marriages are rejected. No poor man will dare marry the daughter of a rich man. Because of this, when the elderly Brahmana offered the young Brahmana his daughter, the young Brahmana did not believe that it would be possible to marry her. Therefore, he asked the elderly Brahmana why he was proposing something unprecedented, a sambhava. It was unheard of for an aristocratic person to offer his daughter to a person who is both uneducated and poor. Next verse. Sir, I am not a suitable bridegroom for your daughter. I render service to you only for the satisfaction of Krishna. Both Brahmanas, both Brahmanas were pure Vaishnavas. The younger man took special care of the older one simply to please Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11:19-21, Krishna says, Mad Bhakta Pujabhyadika. It is better to render service to my devotee. Thus, according to the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is better to be a servant of the servant of God. One should not try to serve Krishna directly. A pure Vaishnava serves a servant of Krishna and identifies himself as a servant of Krishna. This is pleasing to Lord Krishna. Srila Narottam Das Thakura confirms this philosophy. Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Prayeche Keba. Unless one serves a liberated Vaishnava, he cannot obtain liberation by directly serving Krishna. He must serve the servant of Krishna. Next verse. Lord Krishna is very much pleased by service rendered to Brahmanas, and when the Lord is pleased, the opulence of one's devotional service increases. The older Brahmana replied, My dear boy, do not doubt me. I will give you my daughter in charity. I have already decided this. The young Brahmana said, You have a wife and sons. You have a large circle of relatives and friends. Without the consent of all your friends and relatives, it is not possible to give me your daughter in charity. Just consider the story of Queen Rukmini and her father, Bhismaka. King Bhismaka wanted to give his daughter Rukmini in charity to Krishna, but Rukmi, his eldest son, objected. Therefore, he could not carry out his decision. See, everything's based on Shastra and the pastimes of Krishna. So this boy, he says he's not educated, but he's highly educated, right, in Krishna consciousness. He's not highly educated in material knowledge, maybe, how to make nuts and bolts and put them and build Legos and this or that. But he's very educated in Krishna consciousness. The elderly Brahmana said, My daughter is my own property. If I choose to give my property to someone, who has the power to stop me? My dear boy, I will give my daughter to you in charity, and I will neglect the position of all others. Don't doubt me in this regard. Just accept my proposal. The younger Brahmana replied, If you have decided to give your daughter to me, then say so before the Gopala deity. Say the boy wants to solidify this thing and make it foolproof so that the Brahmana is not a liar, right? Brahmanas cannot lie. If they lie, it's a great, great sin. If anybody lies, it's a great sin, but especially Brahmanas. Coming before Gopala, the elderly Brahmana said, My dear Lord, please witness that I have given my daughter to this boy. Then the younger Brahmana addressed the deity, saying, My dear Lord, you are my witness. I shall call for you to testify if it is necessary later on. Boy, this young boy is really smart, right? He's not a dummy. He is very, very smart. After these talks, the two Brahmanas started for home. As usual, the young Brahmana accompanied the elder Brahmana as if the older Brahmana were a guru, spiritual master, and rendered him service in various ways. Wow. After returning to Vidyanagara, Each Brahmana went to his respective home. After some time, the elderly Brahmana became very anxious. He began to think, I have given my word to a Brahmana in a holy place, and what I promised will certainly come to pass. I must now disclose this to my wife, sons, and other relatives and friends. Thus, one day, the elderly Brahmana called for a meeting of all his relatives and friends, and before them all he narrated, from them all he narrated what had taken place in front of Gopala. When those who belonged to the family circle heard the narration of the old Brahmana, they made exclamations showing their disappointment. They all requested that he not make such a proposal again. They unanimously agreed, if you offer your daughter to a degraded family, your aristocracy will be lost. When people hear of this, they will make jokes and laugh at you. The elderly Brahmana said, how can I undo the promise I made in a holy place while on pilgrimage? Whatever may happen, I must give him my daughter in charity. The relatives unanimously said, if you give your daughter to that boy, we shall all give up connection with you. Indeed, his wife and sons declared, if such a thing happens, we shall take poison and die. Whoa. You'd think they're Pakistanis, these people, right? They're willing to commit suicide if he does this. Right? The elderly Brahmana said, if I do not give my daughter to the young Brahmana, he will call for Gopalaji as a witness, because that's what the boy said. He said to the deity, now you're witnessing this, I may have to call you in the future, right? So he was very prescient. Look that word up, P-R-E-C-I-E-N-T, prescient. It's a very good word. P-R-I-E-S-C-I-E-N-T, something like that. You got it? Yeah, go ahead.
Having or showing knowledge of events before they take place.
There you go. He was prescient. He was able to, when they were back in Vrindavan in front of the deity, he said, if I have to call you as a witness, you please come. Right? So his son replied, the deity may be a witness, but he is in a distant country. How can he come to bear witness against you? Why are you so anxious over this? Wow, you see how sure the materialist is. The deity is just a stone. It can't walk or it can't be transported. And it's a heavy stone too, it's big. It can't be transported from Vrindavan to Vijayanagara. You do not have to flatly deny that you spoke such a thing. There is no need to make a false statement. Simply say that you do not remember what you said. Whoa, see, this is what lawyers do. Lawyers are liars, right? They think, they figure out very clever ways to circumvent an eventuality, circumvent a promise or whatever. If you simply say, I do not remember, I shall take care of the rest. That's his son saying, you just say you don't remember, I'll take care of the rest. Right? By argument, I shall defeat the young Brahmana. By argument, you say. This is what they do. This is what nonsense people do. They come up with clever arguments to defeat the truth. You see. But they can't defeat the truth. The truth will always prevail. Satyam param, what is it? Satyam param dhimai, is it? No, Satyam Param Jayate. Jayanti. Satyam Param Jayanti. Is that it? Is that what they say? The truth will always prevail. Satyam Eva. Satyam Eva Jayate. Okay. Yes. The elderly Brahmana prayed. Now he's praying, right? After what his son said. When the elderly Brahmana heard this, his mind became very much agitated. Feeling helpless, he simply turned his attention to the lotus feet of Gopala. The elderly Brahmana prayed, my dear Lord Gopala, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet, and therefore I request you to please protect my religious principles from disturbance and at the same time save my kinsman from dying. So he's realizing how serious this is. They're forcing him to lie, or not lie, but to say something that's not true, that he forgot what he said. And then his son is going to say very insulting things to the young Brahmana boy. The next day, the elderly Brahmana was thinking deeply about this matter when the young Brahmana came to his house. The young Brahmana came to him and offered respectful obeisances. Then, very humbly folding his hands, he spoke as follows. You have promised to give your daughter in charity to me. Now you do not say anything. What is your conclusion? After the young Brahmana submitted this statement, the elderly Brahmana remained silent. Taking this opportunity, his son immediately came out with a stick to strike the young man. The son said, "Oh, you are most degraded. You want to marry my sister just like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon?" Seeing a stick in the hand of the son, the younger Brahmana fled. The next day, however, he gathered together all the people of the village. There's a saying that a great column in a village cannot be knocked down, but if all the members of the village assemble, they can knock it down. So, all the people of the village then called for the elderly Brahmana and brought him to their meeting place. The young Brahmana then began to speak before them as follows. This gentleman has promised to hand over his daughter to me, yet now he does not follow his promise. Please ask him about this behavior. All the people gathered there asked the elderly Brahmana, if you have already promised to give your daughter in charity, why are you not fulfilling your promise? You have given your word of honor. The elderly Brahmana said, my dear friends, please hear me, what I have to submit. I do not exactly remember making a promise like that. Whoa, he just told a lie. Phew, it's getting serious. When the elderly Brahmana's son heard this, he took the opportunity to juggle some words. Whoa, that's exactly what the lawyers do. They juggle some words, They juggle the words. Becoming very impotent, he stood before the assembly and spoke as follows. While touring various holy places of pilgrimage, my father carried much money. Seeing the money, this rogue decided to take it away. Wow, he's lying, one lie on top of another, right? There was no one besides this man with my father. Giving him an intoxicant known as dutura to eat, this rogue made my father mad. Whoa, now he's saying that the Brahmana boy drugged his father, gave him some LSD or something, and then took his money away. Having taken all my father's money, this rogue claimed that it was taken by some thief. Now he is claiming that my father has promised to give him his daughter in charity. So one thing leads to another. You have different layers of lies now. And he has to say all these lies in order to convince the other people that this guy's bad. He's not really a Brahmana. And then he has to use that to lead into, and he wants to marry my daughter. After drugging my father and taking all his money, now he wants to marry my daughter. That's one insult after another. All of you assembled here are gentlemen. Please judge whether it is befitting to offer this poor Brahmana my father's daughter. Hearing all these statements, all the people gathered there became a little doubtful. They thought it quite possible that because of attraction for riches, one might give up his religious principles. At that time, the young Brahmana said, my dear gentlemen, please hear. Just to gain victory in an argument, this man is lying. Whoa. The boy doesn't give up, right? He's fighting back, but with what you would call gentle ferocity. Ferocity, Ferosity. Look that word up. It's an oxymoron. Gentle ferocity. There's no such thing as gentle ferocity.
FER.
Ferosity. What's it mean?
The state or quality of being ferocious.
Ferocious. Okay, look up ferocious. Very militant. Very, very aggressive. What's it say?
Savagely fierce, cruel, or violent.
Yeah. So, I mean, the boy's being attacked like big time, with many lies now, and what has the son of the Brahmana done? Put people in doubt about the boy. This is exactly what Kaikeya did also to Rama's about Rama. She said such things that put a doubt in the minds of people. Right? This is what people do. The nasty people. They know how to use words to put doubts in people's minds, and therefore that shakes their faith. That's why you should never listen to the Mayavadis, and especially this Ravi Shankarji, because he speaks very nicely. He tells little jokes. He has many smart little phrases that are entertaining. So how could it be a liar? How could it be that he's not actually telling the truth about God? Well, that's their trick. They know how to speak. They're very expert at speaking and making gestures and making telling jokes and making people happy and laugh and so forth. So eventually, people are mesmerized. Mesmerized. You know what that means? Mesmerized. Yeah, hypnotized by his words and his gestures and his little phrases and so forth, and they just say, "Well, that's the truth," when it's actually a lie. So, being very satisfied with my service, the Brahmana said to me, of his own accord, "I promise to hand over my daughter to you." At that time, I forbade him to do this, telling him, "O best of the Brahmanas, I am not a fit husband for your daughter. Whereas you are a learned scholar, a rich man belonging to an aristocratic family, I am a poor man, uneducated, and with no claim to aristocracy." Still, this Brahmana insisted, and again he asked me to accept his proposal, saying, "I have given you my daughter, please accept her." I then said, "Please hear, you are a learned Brahmana, your wife, friends, and relatives will never agree to this proposal. My dear sir, you will not be able to fulfill your promise. Your promise will be broken." Yet, again and again, the Brahmana emphasized his promise. "I have offered you my daughter. Do not hesitate. She is my daughter, and I shall give her to you. Who can forbid me?" At that time, I concentrated my mind and requested the Brahmana to make the promise before the Gopala deity. Then this gentleman said in front of the Gopala deity, "My dear Lord, please bear witness. I have offered my daughter to this Brahmana in charity." Accepting the Gopala's deity as my witness, I then submitted the following at his lotus feet. If this Brahmana later hesitates to give me his daughter, my dear Lord, I shall call on you as a witness. Please note this with care and attention. Okay, so the boy is closing the deal, with what you would say the word is unimpeachable condition. Unimpeachable condition. Look that word up. Unimpeachable. UNIMP EPEACHIBLE.
Not able to be doubted, questioned, or criticized.
There it is. Right? You got to write all these, take notes of all these words. We're building up a whole lexicon, dictionary. These are all good words. Then this gentleman said in front of the Gopal deity, "My dear Lord, please bear witness. I have offered my daughter to this Brahmana in charity. Accepting the Gopal deity as my witness, I then submitted the following at his lotus feet. If this Brahmana later hesitates to give me his daughter, my dear Lord, I shall call on you as a witness. Please note this with care and attention. Thus I have called upon a great personality in this transaction. I have asked the Supreme Godhead to be my witness. The entire world accepts the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Taking this opportunity, the elderly Brahmana immediately confirmed that this was really true. Oh, see? Now he just admitted that he lied. He said everything he said is true. He said, "If Gopala personally comes here to serve as a witness, I shall surely give my daughter to this young Brahmana." The elderly Brahmana's son immediately confirmed this, saying, "Yes, this is a very nice settlement." He's saying he thinks it's impossible that the deity talks and walks, right? There's a saying in English, you have to walk the talk. But here it's the deity talks and walks, right? That's where they got the phrase, you have to walk the talk. In other words, if you say something, you have to actually do it. Right? The elderly Brahmana thought, since Lord Krishna is very merciful, he will certainly come to prove my statement. The atheistic son thought it is not possible for Gopal to come and bear witness. Thinking thus, the father and son agreed. So they agreed with this condition. If the deity comes and bears witness, then we will perform the marriage. And if the deity doesn't come, then the whole thing is finished. The young Brahmana took this opportunity to speak. "Please write this down on paper in black and white so that you may not again change your word of honor." Now, that's a very important statement. Anytime there's an agreement, it should be written down in black and white and signed and notarized. Right? Like, for example, the biggest mistake you can ever make is to loan a relative or a friend money. That's the biggest mistake you can ever. It's the perfect way to lose the relative or the friend. Now, if you insist on loaning someone money, whether it's a relative or a friend, you have to insist that there has to be a written agreement, notarized. Now they might say, "What? You don't trust me? I'm your uncle." I said, "Well, Uncle G, a good friend of mine suggested that this is the way to make agreements. It has to be written down. And if he refuses, then you know that he's a cheater." Right? So what did this boy do? Because he's dealing with a cheater, the son of the Brahmana. He knows the Brahmana is not a cheater, but he's being forced. He's doing exactly what he said would happen. Right? So he's going to force now the son of the Brahmana to sign a statement. All the assembled people got this statement down in black and white, and taking the signatures of agreement from both of them, served as the mediators. In other words, now you have witnesses to the agreement and the signing of the agreement, right? So this is like clad iron, CLADIRON. You can't compromise anyway or trick anyone. The young Brahmana then said, "Will all of you gentlemen present please hear me? This elderly Brahmana is certainly truthful and is following religious principles. He had no desire to break his promise, but fearing that his kinsman would commit suicide, he deviated from the truth. By the piety of the elderly Brahmana, I shall call the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a witness. Thus, I shall keep his truthful promise intact." Wow, this kid is not dumb. He's a real devotee, and he's not afraid to, go face to face with the liars and the cheaters and the atheists. Hearing the emphatic statement of the younger Brahmana, some atheists in the meeting began to cut jokes. This is exactly what they do, you know. They make jokes, you know. They make fun of people. They insult people. This is what nonsense people do. And you see, it's nothing new. They were doing it 500 years ago, and they're doing 5,000 years ago also. Hearing the emphatic statement of the younger Brahmana, some atheists in the meeting began to cut jokes. However, someone else said, "After all, the Lord is merciful, and if he likes, he can come." So some people, so there's the atheists, and then there's the believers. These are the two types of people in the world. After the meeting, the young Brahmana started for Vrindavan. Upon arriving there, he first offered his respectful obeisances to the deity and then narrated everything in full detail. He said, "My lord, you are the protector of Brahminical culture, and you are also very merciful. Therefore, kindly show your great mercy by protecting the religious principles of us two Brahmanas." So then he said, "My dear Lord, I am not thinking to become happy by getting the daughter as a bride. I am simply thinking that the Brahmana has broken his promise, and that is giving me great pain." The young Brahmana continued, "My dear sir, you are very merciful and you know everything. Therefore, kindly be a witness in this case. A person who knows things as they are and still does not bear witness becomes involved in sinful activities." Wow, that's a statement you could make to many people. Yeah, I could tell you stories about that, but we'll stop right there. So then Lord Krishna replied, "My dear Brahmana, go back to your home and call a meeting of all the men. In that meeting, just try to remember me. I shall certainly appear there, and at that time I shall protect the honor of both you Brahmanas by bearing witness to the promise." The young Brahmana, so now Krishna's talking here. The deity that's made of stone is talking to the Brahmana boy, and the Brahmana boy is talking to the deity. Right? So this is what differentiates a deity from an idol. The young Brahmana replied, "My dear sir, even if you appear there as a four-handed Vishnu deity, still none of those people will believe in your words." Whoa. "Only if you go there in this form of Gopala and speak the words from your beautiful face will your testimony be heard by all the people." Wow, the boy is not giving up. He knows how deceptive these people are. So he's saying, "You have to come with me. That's the only way they'll accept." Lord Krishna said, "I have never heard of a deity's walking from one place to another." The Brahmana replied, "That is true, but how is it that you are speaking to me, although you are a deity?" Whoa, he just defeated the Lord. "My dear Lord, you are not a statue. You are directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. Now, for the sake of the old Brahmana, you can do something you have never done before." Wow. Shri Gopalaji then smiled and said, "My dear Brahmana, just listen to me. I shall walk behind you, and in this way I shall go with you." The Lord continued, "Do not try to see me by turning around. As soon as you see me, I shall remain stationary in that place. You will know that I am walking behind you by the sound of my ankle bells. Cook 1 kilo of rice daily and offer it. I shall eat that rice and follow behind you." The next day, the Brahmana begged permission from Gopala and started for his country. Gopala followed him step by step. While Gopala followed the young Brahmana, the tinkling sound of his ankle bells could be heard. The Brahmana became very pleased, and he cooked first-class rice for Gopala to eat. The young Brahmana walked and walked in this way until he eventually arrived in his own country. When he neared his own village, he began to think as follows: "I have now come to my village, and I shall go to my home and tell all the people that the witness has arrived." The Brahmana then began to think that if the people didn't directly see Gopal deity, they would not believe that he had arrived. But even if Gopal stays here, he thought, there is still nothing to fear. Thinking this, the Brahmana turned to look back, and he saw that Gopala, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was standing there smiling. the Lord took the Brahmana. The Lord told the Brahmana, "Now you can go home. I shall stay here and shall live, and shall not leave." The young Brahmana then went to the town and informed all the people about Gopala's arrival. Hearing this, the people were struck with wonder. All the townspeople went to see the witness, Gopala, and when they saw the Lord actually standing there, they all offered their respectful obeisances. When the people arrived, they were very pleased to see the beauty of Gopala, and when they heard that he had actually walked there, they were all surprised. Thus, the elderly Brahmana, being very pleased, came forward and immediately fell like a stick in front of Gopala. Anyway, you get the idea. This is deities can actually speak. It's not just stone. Right? They can walk. They can do whatever they want to do because they're non-different than Krishna. Okay, we'll stop right there. So the main point is the answer to the question that was given yesterday after the class is that the Mayavadis, and Ravi Shankar is a Mayavadi, they believe that when Krishna comes in this world, he has a material body. They believe that the highest level of the truth and realization is the impersonal Brahman, and there's nothing beyond it. And they believe that so therefore Sagara Brahmana for them includes Krishna as an ordinary living entity covered with matter. But Sagara Brahmana, the real meaning of it, is living entities, you and me. We have a soul that's covered by a material body. So we are Sagara Brahmana, a living entity whose soul is covered by matter. Krishna is not a living entity like us, and he's not covered by matter. And then Nirguna Brahmana, for the Mayavadis, refers to the Brahma Jyoti, and that has no qualities, like no eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, anything like that. And there's only one soul. There are not many souls. There are not many individuals. There's only one soul. And all this multiplication of souls, all the different species, it's all in the whole material creation is an illusion. It's not real. Whereas Sagara Brahmana for Vaishnavas means the living entity is covered by a material body, and Nirguna is meaning that we worship Krishna, who has no material qualities. He only has spiritual qualities, so Satchitananda Vigraha. So we see there's a major difference between the understanding of these two words by the Mayavadis and the understanding of these two words by the Vaishnavas. Therefore, when the Mayavadis use these words that you've heard in classes here, they have a completely different meaning. And that's a cause of confusion. Right? Okay, are there any questions?
Not a question, Maharaj, but the story, like the pastimes that narrating in that Madhya Lila. Not a question, Maharaj, but a comment on the pastimes that you are narrating. It's like, it's called a Sakhi Gopal in near
Sakshi
Puri.
Gopal.
Sakshi Gopal. Yeah, Sakhi like in our, because it's in Orissa, so it's near our place. And Sakhi means witness, and a lot of weddings and a lot of engagements, it actually happens in front of those deities. In fact, like our engagement also happened in front of those
so
deities.
You can't divorce.
Yeah.
Not possible.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of people visit there and also.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, you're very blessed. You were born there. Okay, no questions. Then we will end today and continue tomorrow. tomorrow we're going to hear about Madhavendra Puri. You see, so there is a major difference between an idol and a deity. And it's not only because of Sakshi Gopal and Madhavendra Puri, and there are others. There are other examples of deities speaking to devotees. But there's a major difference between an idol and a deity. But we should understand what those differences are so that we don't get confused and we can explain it to others. Hari Bol. All glories to Prabhupada. This story about Sakshi Gopal is amazing. That young Brahmana was very smart. He says he's not educated, but yeah, he's not educated in nonsense. That's the fact. Yeah. See, when you get educated in Krishna consciousness, you get sharp like that. So the same nonsense that's going on today, it was there also 500 years ago and 5,000 years ago. It's always been there. It's not something new. You're playing with words, mixing the meanings up and all that stuff. That's the way people control other people. They change the meanings of words. Yeah. Go ahead. Who's going to sing? Yeah.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma
Bandha Mohi Savadhana Mate
Bandha Mohi Savadhana Mate
Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai
Janara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai
Krishna Prapti Ho Jaha Hoite
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya
Harna Kori Ho Mane Asha
Harana Koriya Maneya Sa
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati
Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha
He Prasade Pure Sarva Asa
चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
चक्षुदान दिला जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो
प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते
प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते
वेदे गाय जहाँ चरितो
वेदे गाय जहाँ चरितो
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आधम जनारा बंधु
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु
लोकेनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना
लोकेनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना
हा हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया एबे जास गुशुक त्रिभुवाना
एबे गुशुक त्रिभुवाना
प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाशता देशतारिणे
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्यादिशतारिणे
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Ita Gaura, Hari Bol.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharasta Tadasatra Shishimad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavendra ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sikha Hoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhar. Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sankunda Radha Kunda. Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mathura Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Ganga Maya ki jai. Jamuna Maya ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glorious to Samudra. All glorious to Samudra. All glorious to Samudra. All glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavan ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vesta. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Varacharya. Devi Shesha Sadhivaya Paskati. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful to us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the world.
We take the shelter of the lotus feet. Prabhupada.